Hello and welcome to Cloud Learner's Journey Part 1 of Azure Solutions Architect Real Exam Questions and Answers with Explanation. You will also find reference links in the description. To become an Azure Solutions Architect, you must pass AZ-104 and AZ-305 exam. You can also go through AZ-104 exam video series and links are available in the description. If you like the video, please do like, share, comment and subscribe to our Cloud Learners Journey channel to help you pass AZ-305 exam and become an Azure Solutions Architect. Question number 1. You are designed an application that will be hosted in Azure. The application will host video files that range from 50 MB to 12 GB. The application will use certificate-based authentication and will be available to users on the internet. You need to recommend a storage option for the video files. The solution must provide the fastest read performance and must minimize storage costs. What should you recommend? And the options are A. Azure Files, B. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, C. Azure Blob Storage, D. Azure SQL Database. And the correct answer is C. Azure Blob Storage. Blob storage stores large amount of unstructured data such as text or binary data that can be accessed from anywhere in the world via HTTP or HTTPS. Next, question number 2. You are planning an Azure IoT Hub solution that will include 50,000 IoT devices. Each device will stream data, including temperature, device ID, and time data. Approximately 50,000 records will be written every second. The data will be visualized in near real time. You need to recommend a service to store and query the data. Which two services can you recommend? Each correct answers present a complete solution. Options are A. Azure Table Storage, B. Azure Event Grid, C. Azure Cosmos DB SQL API, D. Azure Time Series Insights. And the correct options are C. Azure Cosmos DB SQL API, D. Azure Time Series Insights. Process data is stored in an analytical data store such as Azure Data Explorer, HBase, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Data Lake, or Blob Storage. Azure Time Series Insights is a fully managed real-time analytics service specifically designed for time series data generated by IoT devices. Next, question number 3. It is same as previous questions, but the options are different, and the options are A. Azure Table Storage, B. Azure Event Grid, C. Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL, D. Azure Time Series Insights. And the correct options are C. Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL and D. Azure Time Series Insights. Both Azure Cosmos DB and Azure Time Series Insights are suitable services for storing and querying the data in this scenario. Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL is a globally distributed multimodal database service that can handle large amounts of data with low latency and high throughput, whereas Azure Time Series Insights is a fully managed real-time analytics service specifically designed for time series data generated by IoT devices. Next, question number 4. You have an app named App1 that uses two on-premises Microsoft SQL Server database named DB1 and DB2. You plan to migrate DB1 and DB2 to Azure. You need to recommend an Azure solution to host DB1 and DB2. The solution must meet the following requirements. Supports server-side transactions across DB1 and DB2. Minimize administrative effort to update the solution. What should you recommend? And the options are A. Two Azure SQL databases in an elastic pool. B. Two databases on the same Azure SQL managed instance. C. Two databases on the same SQL Server instance on an Azure virtual machine. D. Two Azure SQL databases on different Azure SQL database servers. And the correct option is B. Two databases on the same Azure SQL managed instances. Elastic database transactions for SQL database and Azure SQL managed instances allow you to run transactions that span several databases. SQL managed instance enables system administrators to spend less time on administrative tasks because the service either performs them for you or gently simplifies those tasks. Next, question number 5. You have a SQL server on an Azure virtual machine. The databases are written to nightly as part of a batch process. You need to recommend a disaster recovery solution for the data. The solution must meet the following requirements. Provide the ability to recover in the event of a regional outage. Support a recovery time objective of 15 minutes. Support a recovery point objective of 24 hours. Support automated recovery. Minimize costs. What should you include in the recommendation? And the options are A. Azure Virtual Machine Availability Sets, B. Azure Disk Backup, C. An Always an Availability Group, D. Azure Site Recovery. And the option is D. Azure Site Recovery. Replication with Azure Site Recovery, RTO is typically less than 15 minutes and RTO 1 hour for application consistency and 5 minutes for crash consistency. Next, question number 6. You plan to develop a new app that will store business critical data. The app must meet the following requirements. Prevent new data from being modified for 1 year, maximize data resiliency, minimize read latency. What storage solution should you recommend for the app? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. And the answer area is storage account type with options premium blobs, standard general purpose v1, standard general purpose v2, and redundancy. And the options are zone redundant storage ZRS and local redundant storage LRS. And the correct options are for storage account type, it's standard general purpose v2, and for redundancy, it's zone redundant storage. Standard general purpose v2 supports immutable storage. In general, standard general purpose v2 is the preferred Microsoft recommendation. Zone redundant storage is more resilient compared to LRS, but read access GRS is even more resilient, but it is not in the option. Otherwise, read access G or redundant storage is correct option. Next, question number 7. You have an on-premises network and an Azure subscription. The on-premises network has several branch offices. A branch office in Toronto contains a virtual machine named V1 that is configured as a file server. Users access the shared files on VM1 from all the offices. You need to recommend a solution to ensure that the users can access the shared files as quickly as possible if the Toronto branch office is inaccessible. What should you include in the recommendation? And the options are A recovery services vault and Windows Server backup. B. Azure Blob containers and Azure File Sync. C. A recovery services vault and Azure Backup. D. Azure File Share and Azure File Sync. And the correct option is D. An Azure File Share and Azure File Sync. Azure File Sync enables you to centralize your organization's file share in Azure Files while maintaining local access to the data. In this scenario, you can use Azure File Sync to synchronize the shared files on VM1 to an Azure File Share. This ensures that the latest versions of the files are available in Azure. Next, question number 8. You need to design a highly available Azure SQL database that meets the following requirements. Failover between replicas of the database must occur without any data loss. The database must remain available in the event of zone outage. Costs must be minimized. Which deployment option should you use? And the options are A. Azure SQL Managed Instance Business Critical, B. Azure SQL Database Premium, C. Azure SQL Database Basic, D. Azure SQL Database Hyperscale. And the correct option is B. Azure SQL Database Premium. The premium service tier is designed for OLTP application with high transaction rates and low latency input-output requirements. It offers the highest resilience to failures by using several isolated replicas. Next, question number 9. You need to deploy resources to host a stateless web app in an Azure subscription. The solution must meet the following requirements. Provide access to the full .NET framework. Provide redundancy if an Azure region fails. Grant administrators access to the operating system to install custom application dependencies. And the solution is you deploy 2 Azure virtual machines to 2 Azure regions and you deploy an Azure application gateway. Does this meet the goal? And the options are A. Yes, B. No. And the correct option is B. No. App Gateway cannot span regions. It will balance the traffic between VMs deployed in the same region. Next, question number 10. It is same as previous question, but the solution is different. And the solution is you deploy two Azure virtual machines to two Azure regions and you create an Azure Traffic Manager profile. Does this meet the goal? And the options are A, yes, B, no. And the correct option is A, yes. Azure Traffic Manager is a DNS-based traffic load balancer. This service allows you to distribute traffic to your public-facing applications across the global Azure regions. Traffic Manager also provides you public endpoints with high availability and quick responsiveness. Thank you for watching part 1 of Azure Solutions Architect Real Exam Questions and Answers. We hope you found it informative and helpful. If you liked the video, please like, share, subscribe and comment to our channel for more related topics. We look forward to continuing the journey with you in next videos. Thank you.